First round of clips. Ellis, I think you should go first this week.
I am becoming absolutely obsessed with Ange Postecoglou. What I like about Ange Postecoglou, he is about Mike's age, I think.
Okay.
And his references are often quite similar to Mike's references. Oh, he's older. He's 58.
You mentioned Roadhouse in a recent press conference.
No, but like he talks about, I think for him, playing football was a real community thing.
Sure.
And it's not just a sport. And it was about probably the players who weren't good enough to make it. It was about supporters on the sidelines. And he often, like some refereeing decisions hadn't gone Tottenham's way. Now, if you look at, say, Eric Ten Hag, he was complaining about it a couple of nights ago. Arteta obviously was complaining about it. Arsenal released that statement. He's not like that, and he's saying in this clip, that's just not the way I was brought up, because referees' authority has been diminished all of the time, and if we keep going in this direction, we're going to end up in big trouble. And he says, I was brought up to accept the authority of the referee, and certainly when I was a kid, I was scared of referees in the same way that I was scared of coppers. But now people aren't scared of coppers either. And then he sort of goes, I'm old school, mate. I'm old school.
Yeah, it's always a short leap to national service from that point, though.
But what I like about him is that he seems to care about the game as much as his club and his job.
I love him, right?
It's actually really refreshing.
And when this came, I think I retweeted this the other day when he said it.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you mention anything to do with football, it's a poison chalice, because the other 91 clubs plus all the other clubs in the rest of the world,
yes,
will think you're immediately, right? If you say if I say I'm happy for Newcastle's fans, suddenly I'm a tacit supporter of public beheadings, right? It's just
certainly the way I look at this.
Just weird.
Yeah, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. We should have kept that in house.
So I just commented on this.
Group, not Twitter.
I commented this being a nice thing for him to say, and someone said, and people jumped all over me. Usually, very often Arsenal fans, right? But not always Arsenal fans. And someone said about he got carded. I think he's been carded this season for something. I think he got carded when he was up in Scotland managing. And I said, yeah, but you're missing the point. In the heat of the moment is one thing, and after a game is another thing.
Absolutely.
I pretty much whistle to whistle. I can forgive a lot of stuff as long as after the game, and when everything cools down. When clubs are sending emails a day or two later, or talking about it in press conferences after matches, and 2 or 3 days after it, that's bad. That is just bad. And I don't think Andrew would say that he's not a bloke who loses his rag and calls and has to go to a referee, because it's a high stakes game.
Yes.
I joke with the kids on a Sunday about refs. So listen, stop paying anyone's mortgage, okay? You haven't got any bills. Just enjoy it. Don't I say to the parents the same sort of thing. For him, it's the opposite of that. Yeah. It is his job and it is paying his mortgage, right? So in the game, I can forgive a lot of stuff, and I think that works two ways. I think we'll mention my clip later on. I think there's a bit too much protection of officials during games. They're sort of like you've got to hold them on some sort of pedestal, and I think there's far too much criticism after games.
I think referees are terrified now. Especially
I think if you let people get away with a bit more on the field, verbal-wise, because it's all adults, right? But then just completely crack down on the stuff after a game.
Yeah.
Because I don't mind, and I don't think referees mind people losing their rag during a game, but don't be a dick after a game.
There are a couple of bits that people immediately jump to, because everybody sort of thinks that this is a positive thing that Ange has done, and it's a really refreshing way of looking at it. The Rangers fans, I would say, or a lot of Scottish football fans, then started posting a clip of him from January when he was Celtic's
that's what I was talking about.
That immediately sort of slagged it off. But they haven't included the whole thing, because there's a quote from the end of that rant that he goes on where he says, even now I don't place any criticism on the referees. My issue is that there's a real confusion about a penalty and what isn't a penalty, and what gets refereed and what shouldn't get refereed. I don't think I'm the only one in that boat, but it's not about the refs themselves.
Yeah.
That if you include that bit, then
Yeah, That changes
it
everything,
is
yeah.
there is still a layer of consistency in what he's saying.
Yeah.
And I'm not an Ange apologist at all.
I am like my dad. My dad's described me as poacher turned gamekeeper because when I'm a ref now, I don't put up with a lot of shit when I'm refereeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I played, I was to referees. I was, so it's always trying to bear that in mind as well. It's a weird one, isn't it? Like, but then referees have to behave a certain way as well, which isn't fair to them. If someone's, my boy had a game last week. Really good game of rugby. Went down to watch it. I've got to watch all those games if I can. And the referee was sort of recognised from rugby.
Yeah.
He just gave some decisions I thought were wrong decisions, right? I thought, right, it's a school game.
Were they important decisions?
Well, again, it's not.
In the context of the world, no.
They're led to try.
No, but in the context of the game.
In the context of the game, yes. And in the wider, context, no. Right? So when they came over for a line-up near me, I thought, I'll do this the sneaky way now, because the referee stood by me. I said, Ben, what was that penalty for over there? To my son.
Nice.
Blah, blah, blah. He told me this. I said, that's ridiculous. To Ben, right?
Yeah.
And the referee turns around and says, I'll just ignore it and being 2 metres offside, shall I?
Nice.
I said, it wasn't 2 metres offside, pal. Right? Because now I'm talking directly to the referee. He went, why didn't you shut up? To me, right?
You said that's
Good
it.
lad.
Exactly, good lad.
Good lad.
He said, why didn't you shut up? I said, why didn't you shut up? Right? So it was probably like 14-year-old schoolboys then, right? Hilarious. Rest of the game, he refereed it very well, right? He made a couple of mistakes. I went over there and said, listen, ref, I'm awfully sorry about that. He said, it's all right, Mike, I'm used to it. But I thought, well, how refreshing would it be, right? If the referee turned around and went, why don't you shut up?
That would be good.
Yeah.
You should have said that to me. I should have shut up.
It's the kind of thing Clive Norling used to do in about 1989.
Well, I saw one. Who was the bald fella, the Italian bloke? What's his name?
Kalina.
Did you see that one someone posted last week when he pushed the player? Imagine doing that these days. Go away, man. Just pushed him in the chest. Go off.
Just an NFL official going on the tannoy announcing something, getting booed. He goes, shut up! Shut up, you
It would
knobheads!
turn football into WWE, though, wouldn't it?
It would a little bit.
Shut up! Oh, you shut up!
But I think referees. Well, since what was his name? Was it Anthony Taylor, the referee who got shouted at by Mourinho. By Mourinho when he was in charge of Roma, and then he gets accosted by all the fans at the airport. I think since that, I heard an interview with Wayne Barnes on the BBC a few weeks ago after the World Cup final, sort of talking about the social media abuse that him and his family have got.
That's fucking awful.
Mostly from New Zealand fans since the World Cup final, but he says it's not an isolated thing.
Cracking down on their regular cheating.
Yeah, it would. Yeah,
Weird,
absolutely. Yeah, really odd.
There's a good way not to get penalised for cheating all the time.
Yeah, tackle lower.
Stop cheating.
Stop cheating generally. But I think if we live in a world where that happens, then whether he has disagreed with it in the past or not, someone like Ange coming out and going, where are we going with all this? Eventually there is going to be no referee authority. Someone's got to make a choice. Someone's got to make the decisions.
Yeah. A game can't happen. I know at lower levels it's said all the time isn't actually true. Oh, you would have a game without referees. Well, you probably would at under 8s. It'd be fine. You get your muddle through. But certainly not at Premier League level, would you?
No.
So
the
it would
funny
be
thing
someone
with-
in a van parked on the road making decisions.
The funny thing with VAR is that
Great idea in principle, just
it
so
still
bad in
get
practice.
they still get decisions wrong, but
Yes,
it's
I
kind
think
of
that's what I mean.
magnified the scrutiny by about 100 times.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now everyone is.
You've got to
scared
wait a
and
minute to
everyone's
find out it was
terrified.
wrong.
And that which has ruined the flow of the game, and is also there are certain rules that are slightly daft being enforced properly,
Yes.
which brings football into disrepute to an extent, or certainly has changed the sport. And people are like, I'm not sure this is right, and then you'll get.
But I don't
people
think
saying,
that's-
well, actually, by the letter of the law, that is handball, etc.
But I think that lots of that then, if it's dealt with correctly, either those rules are then looked at. So, for
Yeah.
example, or they're explained better by the TV crew. So the one where, I can't remember which game, was it the Arsenal-Newcastle game?
Newcastle.
The one that we watched in the pub the other day, where the ball objectively looks like it's out.
Yeah.
But it's not, because it's not whether the ball is touching the line or not.
They showed it on Sky the other day.
Yeah, exactly. So Gary Neville does a great piece on that.
With a camera above.
So the camera from the side, he stood next to the ball going, yes, this looks out. But look at it from above, the ball hasn't actually left the field of play, even though none of the ball is touching the line anymore. The rule isn't it's touching the line, like it is in rugby. The rule is, for scores and so forth, the rule is that the ball...
The whole of the ball
hasn't crossed the line. Yeah. So if you put a rugby ball down in front of a try line and it doesn't actually touch
any
of the white,
corners look like they're not in that quadrant, but they are.
Yeah, exactly.
And also,
I think it's fascinating.
The camera angles, amazingly, aren't conclusive.
Yes.
So then it just increases the debate. And then you're like, how can the St James's Park not have a camera pointed at that place? That means that we're having to discuss it.
At the very, very least, there not be a goal line camera on the crossbar and both uprights on both ends. 6 GoPros.
Yeah.
I think goal line technology I would certainly bring in. I mean, they won't get rid of it now, but...
The biggest problem with it is, and Wayne, going to the rugby side of it, Wayne Barnes, and this is linked to what Ange says as well, the problem with the final wasn't that Wayne Barnes was biased, it wasn't that he was inept, all right? He did everything. I thought he had a really good game. I thought he refereed really well.
Genuinely thought he was great.
You know, and it's the pressure on that to get it right. And I thought he made all the big decisions he got right, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
But then when he's got to go to TMO, as it is in rugby, when it becomes a TMO decision,
yes,
that's wrong. I mean, it should remain with Wayne Barnes, because as soon as Wayne Barnes says something, and then it goes to TMO, and TMO come back, and it's a judgment call for TMO just as much as it is for Barnes, and they say you need to reverse that.
Yeah.
Well, then suddenly he's not the boss on the pitch.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I think rugby's become an officiating team now anyway, because I think a lot of the time touch judges...
Yeah, but the NFL's got 7 officials.
Yeah.
But for those calls, it'll still be the referee looking at stuff and making the decision.
I know what you mean.
You also have things that look like red cards in super slow-mo.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Can be problematic as well.
Yeah. Which I think that Barnes could easily have decided that the Kane red was a red on the pitch. I think he could easily have called it, because there's nothing about it that's not a red for me.
Unless you see it under.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But
how are they disputing that one?
He didn't have time to react. He did. I watched it.
Yeah.
He makes a decision. You can see him make it.
And then they showed like Sai Khaleesi's one and said, look, what's the difference in this?
Yeah.
Well, he's bent at the waist 90 degrees and he stood up.
There's huge difference.
They're completely different tackles.
Those are the differences. But I totally respect and understand the fact that he didn't make that decision on the field, because you've got this backup now where there's 10 minutes to analyse it. So don't make that decision on the field. You've yellow carded him. He's off. So he's not influencing anything for this 10 minutes. And someone else can make a categorical, no, you have got this 100% right. He's
I
off.
also think it'd be a bad idea, and that idea's been floated about, that you can replace players who've been sent off. It's not fair to the team. Well, the whole point is it's not fair to the team.
The idea is it's not fair.
Who's floating that idea? I've never heard
lots
that.
of around, mate.
Yeah, there was
talk about a card where after 10 minutes that player stays off, but he can be replaced.
Yeah, because it spoils the game a bit.
Come on.
The idea, but I would say
that sending players off has been the core punishment.
Yes.
In team sport for 120 years.
Yeah, but the World Cup final was a great watch, despite all the stop-starts.
I thought it was brilliant.
And this Tottenham-Chelsea game was absolutely... you couldn't stop watching it. Even though a lot of it was just... I wonder what it would have been like at the venue, but as a TV experience, it was fascinating.
That's a good point, because when I love NFL, but when you go watch a live NFL game, you know, on a Sunday for me, that 3.5 hours flies by, right, for a game. But at the stadium, when there's no replays, and there's no interviews, and you're just waiting for the play to start again.
Yes.
I think that's hard. A lot longer at the stadium.
Yeah.
So I'd be intrigued on what it's like when there's a lot of VAR decisions going back and forth and you're in the ground. You must have been there, Al, when there's been lots of stuff going on.
Well, my team's in the Championship.
Oh, of course, yeah. No, sorry, no offence.
No replays, just anger.
And does the Championship lose anything by having no VAR
Well, no, this is Danny Baker's argument. He's like, at Millwall, we don't miss it.
at all?
Yeah. Yeah, true. Yeah,
You know.
you just argue. But then you still argue with this.
For goal line technology, they have missed some such obvious goals over the years. I mean, the best example I can think of probably is Lampard's one against Germany in 2010,
In the South
which
Africa
was a
World Cup,
couple of feet over.
Oh, yeah, it was miles over.
Absolutely bonkers, yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get bigger than a World Cup, does it?
So I think Ange can come out and say this and still get yellow card. But the point he's getting a yellow card for dissent
Yes.
proves his point in a way.
Yeah.
He's accepting that yellow card. Yeah, I was out of order. I shouldn't have said I've had a yellow card. To be fair.